You know, it's funny. Some of the most powerful stories you'll ever hear are thousands of years old. They're about loss, impossible choices, and the kind of loyalty that can literally change the course of history. Today, we're diving into one of those, the Book of Ruth. It's a short story, but believe me, it packs an incredible emotional punch.
So, this is really the question at the heart of it all. What can a story about two widows from the ancient world teach us today? We're not just looking at some old text, this is a deeply human drama. It's about two women who have lost absolutely everything and have to find a way to keep going against all odds. It's their journey that gets you thinking about how much our choices really define us. Our story begins, like so many do, with a family just trying to find a better life. But for them, that search leads straight into tragedy, and it sets the stage for a journey that's all about emptiness and loss. Okay, so let's break this down. Things go from bad to worse, and fast. It all starts when a guy named Elimelech takes his wife, Naomi, and their two sons to a place called Moab to escape a famine. But then, tragedy hits. First, Elimelech dies. His sons get married to local women, Ruth and Orpah, but then, after about 10 years, both sons die too. In just a decade, Naomi is left a widow, she's childless, and she's basically a refugee in a foreign land. So when Naomi finally makes it back to her hometown of Bethlehem, she's just hollowed out by grief. Now, her name, Naomi, it actually means pleasant, but she tells everyone, don't call me that anymore. Call me Mara, which means bitter. She feels like she left with everything, a husband, two sons, and now she's come back with absolutely nothing. This is her rock bottom. And this brings us to a major crossroads. Naomi tells her two daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth, look, go back to your own families. You're young, you can remarry. And honestly, it's the logical thing to do. So Orpah, crying, agrees and she heads home. But Ruth, she refuses. She literally clings to Naomi, making a choice that goes against all common sense and self-interest. And her vow is just absolute. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. I mean, listen to that. This isn't just about staying with family. Ruth is pledging to abandon her country, her culture, her entire religion, to tie her fate completely to Naomi's. It's one of the most incredible declarations of loyalty you'll ever read, and it's the decision that sets the entire rest of the story in motion. So, the two women show up in Bethlehem with nothing but each other, right as the barley harvest is kicking off. And it's here, in a dusty field of all places, that one little act of initiative plants this tiny, tiny seed of hope. To survive, Ruth starts gleaning. That was basically the welfare system back then. The poor could gather leftover grain from the fields. The text says she just happens to end up in the field of a man named Boaz. But let me tell you, this is no small coincidence. Boaz is a respected guy, and, this is key, he's a relative of Naomi's late husband. And he notices Ruth. So Boaz, who's heard about Ruth's incredible loyalty to Naomi, shows her this amazing kindness. He tells his workers to leave her alone and even to, accidentally leave extra grain behind for her. And the result? She gathers an entire ephah of barley. That's about 22 liters. This wasn't just enough for dinner. It was a shocking amount, enough to feed them for weeks. It is the very first sign that things might actually be turning around. When Ruth gets home and shows Naomi what happened, it's like a light bulb goes off. Naomi recognizes Boaz as one of their kinsman redeemers. Now, this was a super important role in their culture. It was a male relative who had a legal and social duty to protect the family. That could mean buying back land or even marrying a widow to take care of her and continue the family name. For Naomi, this is it. This is their only lifeline. Seizing on this one glimmer of hope, Naomi, the same woman who called herself bitter, suddenly becomes this master strategist. She cooks up a plan for Ruth that is incredibly bold, super risky, and just loaded with cultural meaning. Okay, the plan is audacious, to say the least. Naomi tells Ruth to get ready, not for a day of work, but almost like a bride. She tells her to go to the threshing floor at night, which was a public but pretty isolated place, wait for Boaz to fall asleep, and then lie down at his feet. It's a hugely vulnerable and symbolic move. She's putting her reputation and their entire future squarely in Boaz's hands. When Boaz wakes up startled in the middle of the night and finds her there, Ruth doesn't miss a beat. She tells him who she is and then asks him to spread the corner of your garment over me. Now, this is a direct
symbolic way of asking for marriage and protection. She is bravely, formally asking him to step up and be her kinsman redeemer. Now, Boaz is honored by this, but he reveals a complication. Turns out there's another male relative who's actually closer in line, and he gets the first shot at redemption. This can't be settled in secret at midnight. It has to be handled legally and out in the open at the town gate. So at the town gate, Boaz lays out the deal to this other guy. At first, it's just about buying Naomi's land, and the man agrees. Hey, it's a good investment. But then Boaz adds the fine print. Whoever buys the land also has to marry Ruth the Moabites to carry on her dead husband's name. The other guy immediately backs out. He's worried it'll mess with his own estate. And just like that, the path is clear for Boaz. To make the deal official, they perform this old custom. The other kinsman takes off his sandal and hands it to Boaz, right there in front of 10 town elders who act as witnesses. This simple act made the whole transfer of rights and property totally legit. And with that, Boaz publicly claims his right to redeem the land and to marry Ruth. And so the story comes full circle. The whole narrative began with a woman so empty she literally renamed herself bitter. And now it ends with a restoration so complete it's almost hard to believe. Boaz and Ruth get married, and she has a son. The women of the town celebrate with Naomi not just for her new grandson, but they recognize what an incredible gift she has in Ruth. They tell her that her loving daughter-in-law is better to her than 7 sons, which in that culture was the highest possible compliment. It meant perfect blessing and total security. Naomi, who came back empty, is now completely full. But wait, the story doesn't end there. This is where this little family drama just explodes onto the world stage. The text tells us that this baby, named Obed, he grows up and has a son of his own. And his son's name was Jesse. Now, for anyone familiar with these ancient histories, the name Jesse is a massive, massive clue. Jesse of Bethlehem was the father of 8 sons, and his youngest, well, he started out as a shepherd boy who would one day become a king. And there it is. The son born to Ruth, the foreign widow from Moab, becomes the grandfather of King David, Israel's most famous and revered king. The story of loss and loyalty isn't just a personal one. It's the origin story for the entire royal line of Israel. Which leaves us with this one last thought. Ruth's simple decision, a choice that seemed so small at the time, to just stay with her mother-in-law. An act of kindness and loyalty. It didn't just save 2 women from starvation. It echoed through generations and actually shaped the destiny of a nation. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What kind of ripples are our own acts of loyalty and kindness sending out into the future?